near-fatal shooting, but he couldn't survive a second. Rap star Tupac Shakur died last night after a brief life in a rough business. He was 25.
Tupac had a lot more enemies than just, Joe Blow rapper across the country. He comes from a family of people that don't just talk, they act. Pac's big mistake was speaking truth to power. And that's one thing when you're talking about a faceless government or the president. It's a whole nother thing when you're talking about people within the industry that you work. When you have that level of honesty, they don't want you here. No one does.
He said many times, I'm going to die. I'm going to go out in a blaze of glory.
September 6, 1996, Tupac Shakur is at the top of the hip-hop world. He's the biggest name in the game, the ultimate gangster rapper, and the voice of the streets. To his fans, he's a legend.
Yes, I am gonna say that I'm a thug. That's because I came from the gutter.
People in the hood call him Black Jesus. They was like, he was sent here to save us.
But to the authorities and his rivals, he's seen as a problem, someone too powerful, too influential, and soon, Tupac will become a target, falling victim to the envy and hostility surrounding him. Tupac's last 24 hours were a mix of highs and heartbreaking lows, marking the final chapter of one of the most legendary artists to ever live. Let's take a deeper look at how it all unfolded. September 6, 1996, 11:30 p.m. Los Angeles, California. Tupac Shakur steps out of Lacey Studios in downtown LA, wrapping up yet another long day of work. He's just finished shooting a music video, adding to the long list of projects he's been juggling. At just 25 years old, he's already one of the biggest names in hip-hop with 6 top 10 singles in the last 6 years. He's riding a wave of success that most artists can only dream of. But what no one knows, not his fans, not his friends, not even him, is that this moment is one of the last times he'll ever step out of a studio. In just 24 hours, his life will come to a violent and tragic end. Tired from the shoot, Tupac jumps into his car and heads home to his mansion in Calabasas. He grabs a few hours of sleep, knowing that he has a busy day ahead. Morning comes fast, and before he can even fully wake up, his cousin, Jamal Alisane, reminds him of their plans. They have to hit the road for Las Vegas.
Because our birthdays is in the same month, he wanted me to celebrate our birthdays together in Vegas.
It's supposed to be a fun trip. Tupac is heading to Vegas to watch his close friend Mike Tyson in a heavyweight fight. After that, he's set to perform at a club. He'll be making a trip with his girlfriend, Kidada Jones, the daughter of legendary producer Quincy Jones. Despite the plans, Tupac isn't too excited about the trip. Something about it doesn't sit right with him.
Pac didn't want to go, you know what I'm saying? It was obvious there was some other family issues that he wanted to deal with back in Atlanta, and he wasn't really keen on the whole Vegas trip, you know what I mean?
But his manager, Suge Knight, insists. It's going to be a big night, and Tupac's presence is expected, so reluctantly, he agrees. He has no idea that this will be the last trip he ever takes. September 7th, 1996, 3 p.m. Wow, Las Vegas fast forward. Tupac has arrived in Las Vegas. The energy in the city is electric. Fight night always brings a certain buzz, and this is no ordinary match. Mike Tyson is set to take on Bruce Seldon for the WBA heavyweight title. Tupac checks into his hotel, but there's no time to relax. In just a few hours, he'll be at the MGM Grand watching Tyson do what he does best. But for now, he's got some time. Instead of staying in, he heads down to the casino floor. He's in good spirits, playing a few hands at the tables. His bodyguard, Frank Alexander, stays close by, keeping a watchful eye on everything.
We get over to the MGM, and he's gambling again on the crap table, and he's winning. He's winning big. He's doing really well.
6:15 p.m., boxing match. As the evening rolls in, so does the big event. Tupac and his entourage, led by Suge Knight, leave for the MGM Grand. Before leaving the hotel, Tupac makes a decision. He tells Kidada and his cousin Jamala to stay back.
And I can remember us saying to each other, like, wow, why would they bring us out here and we can't even go to the fight? He don't even want us downstairs. And he kept saying, please, he begged us, please don't go downstairs. Please, y'all stay up here.
Maybe it's because he wants them to avoid the madness of the crowd. Maybe it's because he knows things can get unpredictable when he's out. Either way, he makes sure they're safe and comfortable before heading out. As Tupac and his entourage make their way through the crowded MGM Grand, the energy is electric. Fans are everywhere, calling out his name, reaching for a handshake, or just hoping to get a glimpse of the rap icon. But while the love from fans is undeniable, there's always another side to fame, one that his bodyguard Frank Alexander is painfully aware of. For Frank, protecting Tupac isn't just about dealing with overzealous admirers. It's about keeping an eye out for the people who don't like him. Tupac had always been outspoken and unfiltered. His recent diss track, Hit 'Em Up, had added fuel to an already raging fire in the hip-hop world. It was a declaration of war, aimed directly at Biggie Smalls and anyone associated with him. The East Coast-West Coast rivalry was already at a boiling point, and Hit 'Em Up took it to another level. Frank Alexander knew all of this, and that's why he was on high alert. To be safe, he called on MGM security for extra backup. 8:35 p.m., altercation. The fight is over before most people even settle into their seats. Mike Tyson makes quick work of Bruce Seldon, knocking him out in under 2 minutes. After the fight, Tupac and his crew head backstage. He's still buzzing from the adrenaline of the match, his energy at an all-time high. Suge Knight, the towering CEO of Death Row Records, is right by his side, surrounded by a sea of Death Row affiliates. As they step into the lobby of the MGM Grand, the energy shifts. One of Suge's Death Row associates hurries over to Tupac and whispers something in his ear. The message is simple, but it's enough to light a fire under him. Orlando Anderson is here.
One of Suge's guys, his name is Trevon, came over and whispered in Tupac's right ear.
Tupac's expression changes instantly. Orlando isn't just some random guy. He's a known member of the Southside Crips, a gang that has long-standing beef with the Bloods, whom Death Row is rumored to have strong ties with. But more than that, Orlando is accused of something personal. One of Death Row's people claims that Anderson robbed him weeks ago. And just like that, the decision is made. Tupac doesn't hesitate. Fueled by the excitement of the night, the energy of the fight, and the heat of the moment, he storms toward Orlando. He's not alone. Suge and the rest of the Death Row crew are right behind him. The crowd in the lobby barely has time to react before fists start flying.
Just 3 days after the awards, Tupac and others attack an LA gang member in a hotel lobby after a Mike Tyson fight in Las Vegas, believed to be in response to an earlier assault against someone affiliated with Death Row.
It's chaos. Tupac is throwing punches, Suge is involved, and the entire Death Row entourage is in on it. In the midst of the brawl, Frank Alexander rushes in and grabs Tupac, pulling him away from the chaos. 9 p.m. Departure. After the chaos in the MGM Grand lobby, Tupac and his crew leave the scene, making their way back to their hotel rooms to freshen up. The energy is still high, adrenaline pumping. Egos riding the wave of the fight that just went down. Tupac gets ready for the night. He's supposed to perform at Club 662, a venue owned by Suge Knight, where the Death Row family plans to keep the night going with an after party. As he changes, there's a decision that in hindsight seems almost fateful. He chooses not to wear his bulletproof vest.
I remember Castro saying to Pac, you should put your vest on. I think you should wear your vest tonight. Pac saying, nah, it's too hot. I don't want to wear my vest tonight, it's too hot for that.
With the crew ready, they leave the hotel and head out. Not straight to the club, but to Suge Knight's mansion. The house is deep in Death Row territory. Almost everything inside is red, the signature color of the mob Peru Bloods, an offshoot of one of LA's most notorious gangs. Tupac had never officially been a Blood, but by aligning himself so closely with Suge and Death Row, he was automatically seen as part of that world. That meant he wasn't just an enemy to certain rappers, he was now tangled in real gang beef, whether he liked it or not. To some, Tupac's association with Death Row was making things worse for him. But Frank Alexander, his bodyguard, saw things differently.
Tupac was not gang-related. If you want to represent a color with Tupac, it would have been green, and that's the color of money.
At Suge's mansion, the crew waits outside while Tupac and Suge disappear inside for a private conversation. After about half an hour, with Tupac and the others ready to leave for Club 662, Tupac makes an unusual request to his bodyguard. Tupac's last-minute arrangement comes at the urging of Suge Knight, who wants to talk privately with his star rapper. Some speculate that Suge was trying to convince Tupac to re-sign with Death Row, The thing is that Tupac had already been thinking about leaving. Despite the success of All Eyes on Me, which had gone platinum within 3 weeks, Tupac wasn't entirely happy with how things were playing out at death row. He was making millions, but he wasn't seeing the kind of money he felt he deserved. Rumors swirled that death row wasn't cutting him in on all his earnings, and that realization had started to weigh on him. And death row wasn't the only problem hanging over Tupac's head. There was still the Biggie situation. For years, he's been walking a tightrope between fame and danger, between music and the streets. The East Coast-West Coast feud, the gang affiliations, the never-ending legal troubles, it's all been building up. And now, as he coasts down the Vegas Strip, one of those old enemies is about to strike back. 11 p.m., traffic stop. The convoy moves forward, slowing at a red light near Flamingo Road and Koval Lane. Fans still linger nearby, snapping pictures and shouting his name. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, a white Cadillac pulls up to the right side of Suge's BMW. 11:15. Shooting. Before anyone has time to react, the sound of gunfire shatters the night. A spray of bullets rips through the car.
He didn't just speak truth to power when it came to the cops. He said about the dope dealers. He spoke truth to power all the time. When you have that level of honesty, they don't want you here. No one does.
4 bullets tear into Tupac's body. 1 in the chest, 1 in the arm, 2 in the thigh. Another bullet grazes Suge Knight's head, but the massive CEO barely flinches. Instead, he reacts instinctively, gripping the wheel and trying to get them out of the line of fire. The BMW makes a hard U-turn, speeding off in the opposite direction, but the damage is done. The car is riddled with bullets, the tires give out, and within moments it breaks down just a few blocks away. And for the second time in his life, Tupac Shakur is staring death in the face. Paramedics arrive, pulling Tupac from the car and rushing him to the University Medical Center. He's in critical condition, barely clinging to life. The bullets have done serious damage, and doctors perform 2 emergency operations to try and stop the bleeding. His right lung is removed, but the injuries are too severe. The only way to keep him alive is to place him in a medically induced coma. For 6 days, Tupac fights. His mother, Afeni Shakur, never leaves his side. His family and close friends hold a constant vigil, refusing to accept that this could be the end.
And I guess he did too, is to where Pac is indestructible. So when he got shot the second time in Las Vegas, we were like, man, it's Pac, dude.
And then on September 13th, 1996, at just 25 years old, Tupac Amaru Shakur takes his final breath. The news spreads like wildfire. The hip-hop world is shaken to its core. Meanwhile, the investigation into Tupac's murder hits a wall as witnesses refuse to talk. The code of the streets is in full effect. No snitching, no cooperation. With little to go on, theories start swirling. Some believe it was payback from the Southside Crips for the beating Orlando Anderson took in the MGM Grand Lobby just hours before the shooting. Others point the finger at Biggie Smalls, Tupac's biggest rival, suggesting that he had something to do with the hit. That theory only grows stronger when 7 months later, Biggie himself is gunned down in an eerily similar attack. Then there's the Suge Knight theory. Some claim that the death row boss had Tupac taken out because he knew Pac was planning to leave the label. With Tupac gone, Suge wouldn't have to worry about losing one of his biggest moneymakers. Whatever the truth, the streets don't wait for answers. In LA, Tupac's murder sets off a wave of retaliation. Over the next 10 days, 12 shootings erupt between rival gangs. The body count rises. 3 people, 22 arrested. For decades, the case remained unsolved. Then, in 2023, justice finally catches up with one of the men who was there that night, Dwayne Keith D. Davis. A well-known gangster and Orlando Anderson's uncle, Keith D had been bragging for years about his involvement in Tupac's murder. He gave interviews and even wrote a book detailing how he and his crew played a role in the hit. But running his mouth finally caught up with him. In a turn of events, Keith D was arrested and charged with Tupac, bringing the decades-long mystery one step closer to closure.
I'm going to go ahead and read from the book.
Well,
so
let them buy the book then.
Okay, well, I'm just going to read this passage. The shit was on. Tupac made an erratic move and began to reach down beneath his seat. Instead, Pac pulled out a strap, and that's when the fireworks started. One of my guys from the backseat grabbed the Glock and started busting back. The first shot skinned Suge in the head, and I thought that was dead.
When Keith D was running his mouth bragging about his role in Tupac's death, he probably didn't consider the potential consequences. But everything changed when he was arrested as a suspect in the murder case. With a trial looming, the stakes got significantly higher. During the trial, Keith D argued that former LA detective Greg Kading broke a proffer agreement and the law. He also claimed that the evidence Kading had, dating back to 1996, was tainted and should not be allowed in court. Greg Kading is the detective who recorded Keith D's murder confession, where Keith D revealed his conversation with Diddy and alleged that Diddy offered him $1 million to Tupac on Suge night. Despite these serious allegations, some people believe Keith D is being foolish since he himself has been publicly bragging about his involvement in Tupac. Since Keith D's arrest, his situation has significantly deteriorated. He's not only facing legal troubles, but he's also been attacked multiple times. In a new interview with Bomb First, Reggie Wright Jr., who once worked at Suge Knight's Star Row Records, and whose father was a gang enforcer with the Los Angeles Sheriff Department's Operation Safe Street unit in Compton, revealed that Keith has already been jumped several times in jail while awaiting his trial. Reggie said, heard he done got whooped on about 3 times already in there. And I got that confirmed from a very, very good source. But nothing major, just, kicked, stomped, hit. Nothing like he gonna get when those dudes in the pen find out how he was saying that they soft. Yeah, that audio's still out there. You better call Vlad and try to get it pulled down.
Those 2 months is kicking his ain't it? That picture look bad. My testosterone must be going low. Cause I kind of feel bad for
Keith D's reputation has also taken a severe hit. Once seen as a revered OG who bragged about his connections to Tupac on YouTube, he is now viewed as a dumb May in jail on murder charges. Prior to his trial, Keith struggled while spending several months in protective custody. His once formidable image as a famous gangster from the 1990s has been tarnished, with many in his old neighborhood now seeing him as a joke who ran his mouth about his involvement in the high-profile case. A source revealed that he has been frustrated because his legal team did not apply for bail immediately after his trial date was set in early November. Instead, Keith's lawyers filed a 33-page bail application on December 14th, 2023, just over a week before Christmas. In this application, his lawyers claimed that Keith only gave interviews about the Tupac murder to make money and for entertainment purposes. Unfortunately for Keith, rather than earning a quick buck, these interviews led to his custody. The first sign that Keith could end up behind bars came in July 2023, when detectives on the case searched his home in Henderson, Nevada. Then, in September 2023, after a 6-week grand jury heard compelling evidence against him, Keith was arrested near his home. Despite his legal troubles, Keith seemed to enjoy the attention from his connection to Tupac. Body cam footage from his arrest shows him telling police that it is the biggest case in Las Vegas history. Keith D's fascination with the limelight can be traced back to his numerous interviews where he detailed his role in organizing gang members to hunt down and assassinate Tupac Shakur. He also chronicled the murder in his memoir, Compton Street Legend. However, this bravado has come back to haunt him as he now faces serious consequences for his actions. Detectives have confirmed that Keith D's own comments led to his murder charge, a charge that could result in life imprisonment. Now, according to a source who spoke with the US Sun, Keith is grappling with numerous issues that are affecting his mental well-being and overall mindset while he awaits his trial in jail. The insider explained, Keith is experiencing a wide range of emotions right now. One of the most challenging aspects of this whole criminal process is that his status has dramatically shifted. He went from being regarded as an OG street legend to a joke within criminal circles. People see him as a fool for getting himself into such serious trouble and now facing the possibility of life in prison. Ironically, this blow to his image and ego has been one of the most difficult things for him to deal with, despite everything else that's going on. The source, who is familiar with Keith's family, elaborated further. When someone like Keith falls from grace in this world, they go from being seen as untouchable and respected to becoming vulnerable. This change has real day-to-day consequences. Keith fears for his safety now because his status is gone. He's been telling his family about his fears of what could happen to him in jail. The source added that Keith, a one-time self-proclaimed LA kingpin and multi-millionaire drug dealer, hates being locked up alone in protective custody for most of the day and deeply misses his family. His perception of the legal process was very different from the reality. He thought that after his trial date was set, the wheels would quickly be put in motion for his bail application. But these things take time and require a proper process of legal steps. Fast forward to 2024, and Keith D's situation has only worsened. His bail, set at $750,000, was denied in June. Keith essentially shot himself in the foot when he published his memoir, Compton Street Legend, in 2019. In it, he detailed the night of Tupac's murder, writing, "One of my guys from the back seat grabbed the Glock and started busting back. As the rounds continued flying, I ducked down so that I wouldn't get hit." He also recounted allegedly meeting with Diddy to discuss the hit and mentioned that members of Death Row allegedly jumped his nephew near a casino, making the hit personal. When conversations would come up about $1 million bounty on the heads of Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur, that was business. But after Tupac, Suge, and those Death Row NS jumped on my nephew Baby Lane Anderson, the situation became ominously personal. Keith wrote. Keith D also appeared in multiple interviews over the years, discussing the night of the murder in great detail. These public admissions might have violated his 2009 proffer agreement with Los Angeles investigators, in which he provided information about Tupac's murder in exchange for immunity. However, by speaking publicly about the details of the murder, Keith D violated the terms of this agreement. Law enforcement kept track of every instance where Keith talked about the murder, using his own words as evidence, which eventually led to his arrest.